Welcome back, everybody, to the Ball and Breakfast Podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wayne Pua, as usual. Tonight we have a special guest. We have Dan Shuftan from Telescope. He's in Chicago and running sponsorships revolving around sports. I'm going to kick it over to Wayne to further introduce our special guest for tonight. But just looking forward to kind of diving into some new topics around sports business and then covering Chicago sports like we normally do.
Yeah. Thank you, Pat. I think I first encountered Dan. I think it was at State Street Sports on Twitter, I think that was like the first discovery I found of him. Just thought he was like really, really interesting. I think regards to the sports business world, sports in general. I think I met him at a bar once. Just I guess had a nice conversation there, and then just followed up with him and his career journey. I think more on like LinkedIn a little bit. And just got really involved on the sports business, posted really great articles on LinkedIn and on Twitter, a great follow overall, very insightful. I think just, I browsed on your LinkedIn just a little bit just to kind of go from there, but I know you graduated from Northwestern with a sports marketing degree. You're currently serving as the VP of Sales and New Business for Telescope. You can definitely talk more about that for sure. I know it's like an award-winning marketing agency working with a lot of businesses, within sports and partnerships, things like that. Great follow. I think you have 40,000 social media followers, something like that. Something what I've seen. Yeah. I think just coming from there, just would love to hear kind of like your career journey. How'd you get started in the sports business world? And just kind of take it from the beginning, I would say.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Wayne, as much as I love Northwestern, I am a graduate of the University of Kansas, the national champions. So that is truly much more important than anything having to do with Northwestern. So, rock chalk to you. So that's a lot of questions. I'll do my best to give you the journey. It's been a fun journey. From the State Street Sports to Telescope. So I grew up in Deerfield, went to school, son of a lawyer and a big fan of Jerry Maguire as a kid, and Arliss. Absolutely love the show Arliss on HBO.
It's great.
Stuck. You'd have to watch it. Girlfriend, who's now my wife, would make me watch Sex and the City, and obviously Arliss would come after it. So you have to do the double package. Fine, fall asleep for the first half hour, then pay attention during Arliss. Great. So I always wanted to be a sports agent, and my goal coming out of school was to go to law school. That was the trajectory I was going to take. I wrote a long note to Chicago White Sox. Basically wrote a note to Brooks Boyer, who was basically just starting in 2004. Talking about all the various ways and means why. I think it was on Yellow Pad. I don't know. Maybe I typed it, but this was very pre. It's the old days. Anywho, typed about all the various ways I could help if he brought me on to the Sox. Diehard Sox fan, dad's from the South Side, grew up on the North Side, have a chip on my shoulder, fought off Cubs fans my entire life, understood and really wanted to dive into the business. I ended up, before taking the LSAT, did a little tennis pro, and one day got a call from the White Sox for an interview, and lo and behold, I ended up at the White Sox in 2004 and 2005, which I am the good luck charm. I truly believe it was because of me. But seemingly, I was an intern. I was worked in ticket sales and sponsorship, and it's definitely a different year. And when your goal as a kid was to work for the White Sox, and your first job out of school was working for the White Sox, and they won the World Series, it's interesting. Left the White Sox, we saw the hurrah. I didn't want to work on the team side. Did a few things, worked for Hyatt in procurement. And then 2008, I went and attended Northwestern to get a sports marketing degree. And that's when the crash happened. So coming out
Perfect timing. Yeah.
No one was hiring. Everybody was laying people off. So at that time, the big thing were blogs, and looking at the Deadspins, the Barstools of the world. I've always thought that I had a great opinion on sports, societal issues. I have a fun, humorous way of spinning things up. I met a friend at Hyatt. We were working together. We sat down and we started a company called State Street Sports, which grew from random paragraphs to, tens of thousands of people coming to our site every single day. Really pushed out and learned how to use social. State Street Sports, the Twitter page was bonkers for a very long time. In fact, I didn't even change the name until about 2 years ago. And I did that for about 3 years. And my goal in life was always to work with athletes. That was always my goal. And at State Street Sports, I was able to do some local events with Chicago athletes, working with Jared Payton, working with Robbie Gold's foundation. And I really got good at social. And I really got good at understanding and figuring out that there was, it was the Wild West. It was loopholes upon loopholes upon loopholes, and athletes literally just saying anything they wanted, spewing stuff out of their mouth, and really not figuring out how to monetize their social at this point. This is pre-influencer. This is pre-Kardashian posts. So I happened to meet a sports agent who worked at Priority Sports named Mike McCartney. He's moved over to Vayner. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man, but he's also a wonderful agent. And we got to talking about my love of social, and he thought it'd be a good idea if I can come in-house and start basically running the internal, external social pages for athletes at Priority Sports, which I found a business partner. We worked together for a few years, just did the social side, went to a bunch of agencies. We're basically helping with consulting. And then about 2 years into that, I got a marketing license to rep athletes, started taking some of the athletes I was working with, started representing them, and basically was their marketing agent, NFL, NBA, MLB, and for about 5 more years, did the journey of essentially using athletes, social and leisure and lifestyle to try to tap into brands and try to monetize. And I took that literally as far as I could. I just took that as far as I could until one day I got a nudge from my wife who said, literally, I will leave you tomorrow if you keep doing this, because it's just too much. And to get a portion of an athlete's deal that's not the agent to the social, and to prove it came from social, it's just a lot. So look, throughout that entire experience, I was doing the pure selling though. I was the one who was leveraging to brands. I was leveraging to agencies. I was leveraging the athletes as my clients. I was brokering the deals. So I've always, in my life, figured out that my, positive side of the sports world has always been the sponsorship, has always been the deal making. And after being the agent, I found various companies and then fell into really my path, which is the technology side of sports, which has been my calling and where I've been for the last almost decade. So, I found the sponsorship, and I worked for a company based out of LA that was doing high level sponsorship for Atlanta Falcons naming rights to the stadium and the John Hancock Center. And it's a whole different world. And again, I wanted to fall into social. So I actually was contacted by a company called Open Doors. Open Doors at the moment is the world's largest NIL company. Pre-NIL, it was an influencer platform, like 5,000 athletes. So essentially I was doing the same thing that I was doing before, which was pitching 5,000 athletes with an actual backbone, an actual plausible, tangible platform. And was basically being the middle person between brands who wanted to leverage athletes, pay them to post on their behalf. And it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. And I did that for about 2.5 years as their first VP of sales. And then I moved over to where I currently am at a company called Telescope, which is, I would say it's sports, but it's more, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out of sports. It's where I want to be. I want to be, the real money is outside the sports world, but my love and my passion is in the sports world. Telescope is a fan engagement platform. Our calling card is we run the voting for American Idol and The Voice and America's Got Talent and the NBA and the MLS and pretty much anything you've ever voted on in TV or reality. We powered that through our products. And through that, we have a ton of gamification concepts, real-time trivia, real-time prediction. We're actually owned by Bally's. Bally's acquired us 1.5 years ago. So we're helping to power their gamification while I'm also taking those products to brands and agencies in the sports world and outside the sports world. And that's it. That's been my journey. And it's been fun. Absolutely been fun. So.
I mean, it's quite a journey. It seems like you've pivoted a bunch, but it sounds like towards like the positive. Like, what advice would you have for, maybe somebody that's just starting out, that maybe does want to get in the sports industry of some sort, but doesn't necessarily know where to start? Could you just I don't know if there's any advice you give or any thoughts on directions that they ought to pursue? My
first advice is go find a job making a ton of money somewhere else and buy season tickets. Look, I would never have been where I am or have gotten without people helping me and pushing the elevator back down to me. In the same vein, I do help as many people as humanly possible. I helped hire 12 to 15 people last year. I'm not a recruiter, but I believe that good people should get great opportunities. The sports world is about networking. It truly is about networking and really trying to dive into what you want to do, because you really got to latch on to what you're passionate about. You can't be general. You have to be flexible. It may take you all over the country into various marketplaces till you find your calling. It's strenuous hours. It's working on holidays, working on the weekends, working very late in the evening, consistently getting calls from friends and colleagues to give you free tickets and stuff. And look, it's not for everybody. And I think everybody, if they want to, should intern, get a piece of the pie, understand it, really try to figure out if it's truly a passion. I was told by a professor, my favorite professor in Northwestern, if you draw a concentric circle around the word sports, find your path in through there. It doesn't have to be in sports, but there are ways of intersecting sports, be it into brands that do events in sports or nonprofits so I think everything, and since sports is the most, is the galactic money spender every single year, you'll find your way in. It might not be the right path. You may have to build your own thing. You may have to be patient. But really, it's, if you're a college grad, someone starting out, don't shoot for the stars as well. What I mean by that is don't go after every single VP, after every CMO, they don't know how to help you because they haven't been in your spot for many, many years. My belief is go after the people who had your job the year before or in your shoes the year before, because they had to do the same thing that you did, for better or worse. And they know a lot more about what's open and what's plausible. So just because it's a lower title or just because someone's newer in their career doesn't mean they can't help you. And it's difficult when you get someone asking you to help and you just don't know how to help. You can make introductions, but you just don't know what's going on because you haven't been across that for years and years and years. And, now I look back in my years and I always look back and why people never got back to me. It's the same thing. It's just so, but there's some really great resources. There's two types of people who will literally help you and network and do anything they can for you. and ones who will never help you. And it might be your best friend, and it might be your uncle, it might be your aunt, it might be your neighbor. It's not because they don't like you. It's just they just don't. It's just not the way they're wired. And there's some people who just love connecting, who just love helping because you never know what's going to come back around. And most likely, your first job will come from your tertiary relationship. It's a friend of a friend, and that's how it works. So, but definitely craft what you want, and never ever say the term "you grew up a fan of sports." No one cares, because people in sports don't treat it like that. It's a business. So
no, I've spoken to somebody else that is in the sports industry, and he says the same thing. Is like he works with a lot of professional athletes, and he'll be like, just talk to them like normal people, because they're normal people at the end of the day.
Absolutely, they put their pants on the same way that me and you do. It's just it might take a little longer because they're a little taller, and they're behind the scenes. They're as human as can be. They're average people with God-given talent, who just worked harder than anybody else get where they are. But just like everybody else, they need a support system. Nobody knows what to do. Nobody just can figure it out like that. So, but truly the most important thing is networking. Through and through, have to at least 3 to 4 conversations a day. Just keep chatting, keep telling your story. Eventually someone will latch onto it. And don't get discouraged, because there's a lot of people looking for the same jobs. It's the most in-demand jobs you can think of. So
no, for sure. It's glad that you brought up like your passion for social, and how does it integrate with like athletes and stuff, because I work in the social. I think that's how we discovered each other and everything. I work in the social media world too, and digital marketing. So curious to know, like, which athletes do you think like have a great digital brand, whether it be on Instagram, YouTube, etc.?
I've really stopped following athletes, to be honest with you. I'm so head down. The thing that's really caught my attention lately has been athletes on LinkedIn. I feel like what LinkedIn is doing right now in terms of personalizing athletes and really trying to show the human side is what Facebook was doing and was very successful at doing and then stopped doing. I have really enjoyed seeing athletes who are in college looking for NIL deals on LinkedIn. I've enjoyed seeing college coaches. I love RG3 is absolutely fantastic. I think he's wonderful. He's like my favorite athlete to follow on social right now. His LinkedIn is actually tremendous. It's about him and his journey as kid, his brand new kid. I don't really spend as much time. I don't really go on the TikToks and the Instagrams. I'm just not that interesting. I don't dance. I don't sing. I do deals on them, but my platform has always been Twitter, and Twitter is, as we know, has changed. But certainly, there's just too many athletes to follow now with NIL. It's just a whole different beast. But I really, really enjoyed how LinkedIn has really started to bring out these influencers and continue their journey in their careers, but also post careers in the business world. It's fascinating because they're doing some intriguing and interesting. I mean, the investments they make and the businesses they put themselves into and the things they build, and it seems like it's almost like it's their real voice. It's why I personally moved from Twitter, which I loved and adored, and put all my effort into LinkedIn. There's just something about there. Maybe I just got older. But there's just something about, truly, it's where all the business decision makers are. And it's not about, I don't need the viral moments anymore. I don't need the hee-haw jokes. And I mean, in terms of the athletes, I mean, they're doing something. I mean, the numbers they're putting up is incredible. I mean, just like these college kids, it's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
and working for a company like Open Doors and remember, Open Doors really built the NIL experience at Nebraska,
Mhm.
and seeing that growth. I mean, I have a different POV. I mean, I watched it hatch. The college athletes, the difference between when I was at Open Doors and they were doing some of the stupidest things and posting absolute garbage and just stuff that would get you in trouble later in life, to now where it's clean, crisp, it's pure content, it's branded, it's money, it's dollar exchange, which is unheard of. That's really, I mean, NIL has really intrigued me just because that's my background.
Mhm.
And I'd say LinkedIn. The rest of it, I mean, anybody could post a beautiful picture of yourself with filters at a
Sure.
beach or eating food. I always love the athletes who would show their passion for something. My favorite athletes that I used to work with and I'm still friends with are the Schwartz brothers, Jeff Schwartz, Mitch Schwartz. I had a blast watching their journey, and seeing them go from retirement to leveraging their passion for cooking and analyzing sports on Fox. And Jeff Schwartz is, just a wonderful guy. And the two of them together are just hilarious. And the food passion they have to actually being intangible and creating a cookbook and posting this content, it's just the journey that I didn't continue by myself. I stopped, but they continued. And it's just mature. The whole industry has matured. And it's less about the impressions and the views. It's very much more about the content. And it's about the experience. And it's less about the viral haha moments. And it's really about, can you start a trend? And that's really the thing. Content took over when, inflated numbers disappeared. So.
I guess I had one question for you on the sponsorship side. Can you just walk us through, your art of making a deal? You don't have to bring out any specific examples, but just, what's kind of in that, recipe as far as, going after a certain person, a certain company, and kind of, pitching your services and then, bringing them on board. But then I guess also just looking at the current economic environment. I mean, what is this like right now for you in sports and sponsorship? And, what are the opportunities that, folks like you are looking for in a time like this?
Yeah. We are definitely in a belt tightening world. It's been, I'm 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out of the door in sports. In terms of sponsorship, it depends on really truly depends on what you're selling. I mean, stadiums, it could be anything. Truly could be anything within like 100 to 200 miles of the home office of the company, which now is different because we've all dispersed. In terms of sponsorship, you like to see what other companies are doing in the space and it's very much a shadow. If there's a financial company working in an X, you'll try your best to get a competitor in something similar using their hard work to leverage that. With athletes, it was all about their personality, their college, their high school, I tried to stay away from things like religion and politics, but I made them write a list of 40 items or 40 companies their dreams would be to work with. And these doesn't have to be, it's not the Nike, it's like the diaper brands and toy companies. So to me, it's in the athlete world, it's about storytelling. Athletes are purely the influencers, 10x of impressions and views are done by the athletes over the actual teams. Nobody in the social space, someone in content in the team is going to yell at me about this, I'm sure, but you want to see them who's on the back of the jersey when it comes to social. You follow the athletes. You really don't care as much about what the team is posting. That's more about sponsored deals, posting a static scoreboard or past posting. That's set. That's a calendar. That's all set in advance. Now there are some funny. NHL is hilarious. Like that's a whole different world, and their social teams are just the funniest accounts to follow. and they're funny in person because I'm friends with a bunch of them. In terms of the art of the sponsorship, it all comes down to money. It really comes down to assets. There's been so many different assets that are added over the years, digital and social. A lot of it has been added on. I mean, I'm less right now. Right now, I'm selling my own products. Like I have 13, 14 products that are leveraged by sponsors for experiences. Truly, the art of the sponsorship, it's relationships. Because, I mean, you meet somebody, and sponsorship people will go, and brand people will go from place to place to place. They bounce around all the time, but it's those relationships where it makes sense at that moment. And sometimes it just makes a ton of sense. Like, just should Pickle sponsor pickleball? That makes, you would think that's a slam dunk to do. But if I look back at some of the deals that were done around me, some were dumb luck. Some were somebody moved to a new company and had a bunch of money to spend. Sometimes it's the actual marketer. They're doing it because, or the owner of the company is doing it because it's a passion play. They grew up being a White Sox fan. They want to invest. They made their money. They want to invest in so-and-so. So it's really, you have to, everybody has their own story. In terms of the negotiation, it can get interesting. There's so many, there's broadcasts and there's social and there's digital and there's, assets in game. There's, and now we have all of these other things like OTTs, and we have, can you leverage? There's just a bunch. I haven't done a sponsorship deal per se in quite a long time. But friends of mine who do it, I'm always amazed by how the heck they find these companies. Probably they won't tell you their secret, but I will tell you most of the time it's relationships that, X person worked at an agency, moved over to a brand has money, right call at the right time, boom, that's how it happens. The more interesting things are the media deals and the OTT deals and the linear TV deals. Those are the ones that I'm very intrigued by, just depending on how people's shifting viewership will be. That's what's really going to intrigue me. And I think social used to be free. It used to be just part of the package. Now it's a whole thing. And now it's athletes are investing, have their own investments in things. And so, yeah. To answer your question, there is no secrets, but it's an absolute, if you like the hunt, it's a blast. It's just an absolute blast because you do roll up your sleeves and you talk big deals, and you showcase a stadium. I'm going to take you to a stadium. This is your second home. I personally, and I love when really informative and intuitive people will integrate smart things in, properties or stadiums, or I like looking and seeing really, really creative concepts, or how they're tying into future technology, how we're leveraging Web3 and metaverse, and how we're leveraging social and streaming. And so Patrick, I don't have an answer of like how it's done. The deals I've done are purely through relationships, or when I sell, I put on an absolute show. I have an absolute character when I sell. It's just always been the way I've been. I have my own shtick. I have my own style. Selling with passion is what I've always done. Confidence, humor, bad dad jokes. And, there's a lot of shots on goal. You put a ton of shots on goal. Anybody who wants to sell has to be incredibly patient and resilient, and get used to no. It happens a lot more than you can think of. But the ones who do say yes, it's the greatest feeling in the world. It's the best. So
I know you mentioned belt tightening in this time, but
Yeah.
I guess as far as it goes, like, is this type of period economically just extremely tough, or are there ways that you find opportunity or, get creative in different ways to, kind of keep whatever business, you're working on, afloat, growing, et cetera? I'm just curious.
The me right now is just recovering from COVID. That's one side of it. It's terrible and horrible. Friends, colleagues in the tech space where I'm in, completely washing away tens of thousands of people. And I have no idea why, and I don't accept it. I don't like it. But they're just going back to numbers that were pre-COVID when the marketplace shifted to e-commerce, digital, social. It's the unfortunate reality. So in that sense, that's what's happening with the layoffs. In terms of spending, I work with a lot of big CMOs and agencies who spend in sports. And as of right now, traditionally, people don't spend until after the Super Bowl. It's really when things usually start because most people are planning. Super Bowl is the tier 1 event of the year. It's every industry finding a piece of it. The people who I've usually talked to are usually done, have a budget ready, and have started to have a plan in place. There's less and less people this year who know what the heck they're doing. There's a lot of people who are just being, I would say the word is cautious. They're not spending in the frugal industries that we saw like last year. Like, we are not seeing the Web3, NFT, metaverse. What the heck was that? Let's go spend 6-7 figures on NFTs for every activation, yet nobody actually did anything with it. One of the things I like about what I sell is it's relatively inexpensive and it's safe. I sell a value in getting data. I'm able to get your opt-in information for every experience you get, which is key. So if you can sell something as a KPI that's data or engagement, and really find value, it makes a lot of sense. I personally thought this year would be a lot more about social e-commerce. It completely fell off a cliff. I mean, I thought that we'd be seeing every single influencer doing home shopping network on a different social site, and most of them have been rejected. I mean, Instagram they're basically hiding their e-commerce. That surprised me. I really truly thought that that was going to be the big buzz this year. As of right now, based off the depreciation of cookies and first person data, anybody who can get you any sort of data or understanding of who your consumers are or your fans are, it's going to be bought. It's going to be used. Right now, the most dangerous tools, in a good sense, are anybody who can get you value on your data. You're spending, and now you just can't spend to spend. You have to come back and give some kind of intrinsic value around it, and it has to be through some sort of data. There's a lot of really good data companies out there who can really tell you how a certain sponsorship or a certain buy or a certain thing happened. And they're being tapped by all the big teams and leagues and users and brands, and it'll just get more and more and more valuable because until we open back up, quote unquote, in terms of having more sense of spending, everything has to have a number across it. So, and yeah. I hope, and I'm as unprofessional as it comes to predictions, but my hope is the start of Q2 will be able to dust off, dust off the sales hat and really go crazy, because the conversations they're happening. People are interested. People want to do things. But there's a lot of hesitation. I'll just give you an anecdotal example. There's less people right now at the Super Bowl during Super Bowl week than have been in the past. Usually you'll go down there and you'll party for 4 to 5 days. There's a lot less people. Now, I mean, could it be because Scottsdale is not as important or as interesting as an LA or I don't know. But the fact is, the free spending has just been put on hold for right now. Again, I think, and I'm hopeful that Q2 and we'll start it back up again. but I'll just sit and I'll make the calls and I'll send out the emails and I'll do the song and dance and hope that they're ready to buy. But it hasn't hurt. It hasn't hurt sports. I mean, attendance is still on fire. Viewership is still amazing. I mean, but player salaries, they have no problem spending reckless amounts of money. That's not the business side. Sponsorships will still happen. Things will still happen. They're just being more cautious, and there's got to be more plan in place, and they just can't spend to spend at this point.
Moving on, I think to another note within the digital marketing world, there was a resurgence of the QR code. I'm actually just curious, like, did you see an increase? Did you see an increase? Okay. Yeah, because I remember, like, I'm thinking also, the Super Bowl and everything, like with I think it was Coinbase, right, last year. Curious, like, how the QR code has kind of come back, and then, like, how does that, like, affect, like, these KPIs and sponsorships? Because I see it everywhere in any event I go to, restaurants, etc. When I remember it was like 2012, it was like, or 2010s and all that. It was like, wait, this thing's never going to happen anymore. And they even had that Tumblr that said, here's everybody using QR codes, and it's just blank. And then now it's like a thing. Yeah.
QR codes has,
and then now it's like a thing. Yeah.
QR codes has been the best resurgence of anything or any item in my back pocket, and paying for my twins and the diapers I had to pay for the first 2 years of anything. I mean, the QR code is is thou holy. I love that damn thing. Now, to explain, obviously COVID, because of health regulations and being scared to touch a menu and stuff like that, it came around because it was a health protocol. What came out of it was just another tool to leverage your products or to send you to said location. My business and my bottom line and took off in the event space because of the QR code, and because it's so simplistic. And I think we're so tapped in, our generation, even like my parents' generation, my generation, I'm in my 40s. The phone is our best friend. It's our lover. It's the first thing we see when we wake up, and the last thing we see when we go to bed. But what it's been able to do is bring these forms of engagement into different verticals. And at first it was just like menus. So like for me, my company can put our products, trivia, gamification, instant polling in menus. I can put that on QR codes in stadiums. I can put that on end caps in stores. I can put that in giant screens behind big events. So the last 2 or 3 years, the event space has really taken off because, again, it's safety, it's protocol. We've gotten used to it. It's now a normality to use a QR code. This year, the Super Bowl will be about QR codes in TV. There's going to be a bunch of QR codes in TVs. There's going to be a bunch of QR codes that are about to start living in OTT. That's going to start living on linear, going to be living under the Hulus. And I love it because I get my products sent in different forms and different verticals as a engagement above and beyond just the basic post. So for instance, there are a bunch of companies that are coming up who are doing purely customized QR codes. You'll see a bunch of them at the Super Bowl and beyond, into March Madness and Valentine's Day. But you'll get data. You'll be sent to a microsite. That microsite will have some kind of engagement. That's where I want to be. I'll take you to a place through a QR code, and then I can take you above and beyond. Do a sweepstakes, get a coupon, get an autograph, do a trivia. So it's really that next generation. So we've almost like flipped it around, whereas this basic little tool has now given you the power to point people to wherever you want to be. So yeah, I mean, how long it lasts, I don't know, but that little tool has been damn cool, and I think we're just used to it now. And it's as simplistic as a quick scan, and it's not that difficult. And you can use it from anywhere, computers and your mobile. And so that'll be, and there's one campaign that just launched with like Welch's. Welch's did Welch's grape juice did a huge campaign with, I forgot what athlete, but it's a QR code on a commercial. And it's no longer just viewing. It's now you can actually win or get a gamified experience above and beyond just by doing something as simplistic as scanning. Now, I don't know why or when, because people were using QR codes for the last 2 or 3 years on TV. How it just suddenly shifted over. Maybe we're just so entrenched and using it now, it's no longer. And maybe this Super Bowl last year, the simple, QR code got so much positive accolades that were like, someone did a great test on it, set the precedent, and we're going to run wild with it. But, when you're viewing sports, the QR code is right next to it in stadium, on scoreboard. And it's a dream for sponsors because they can get in front of people in different places. Fantastic for them. So, and you're not really looking at social when you're shopping or when you're in a sports game all the time. So it's a call out. We live in an impulse buy. Oh crap, that's awesome. That's an easy. I can win a free donut by scanning something. And if my dippy donut number 3 wins the race, I win. It's simple. The point of everything about that is it's a wonderful tool for the brands and the sponsors to get your data. And what they're doing with your data, I don't know, but they're customizing. They're figuring out loyalty. They're serving you ads. They're serving you, they're basically trying to figure out their consumers. They're doing that as new acquisitions and as reoccurring acquisitions. It's just a wonderful tool that's been embraced and will continue. And hopefully it keeps going because people love using it for my products. So,
yeah, I think then we can talk about, the Chicago Bears from there. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on, the Chicago Bears in general? How do you think they're faring? Number 1 pick and everything, $100 million cap, Justin Fields. How are you feeling right now?
$96 million in cap. But,
96.
not that I'm counting. But look, I'll take a step back. There should not be a world that we live in where the Chicago Bears are the closest team to winning a title in this city. And unfortunately, I think we're there. And I thought it was my White Sox, and they ain't going the right direction. So, look, the thing about football and the NFL is you can create a new and successful team within 1 or 2 years. Just look at Jacksonville. I mean, it's been happened many, many, many times. Now, we do know the Bears had an absolutely foolish president and GM for years and years and years who had absolutely zero idea what they were doing, especially the last guy. Zero idea. I don't know what he was doing. Now, call it dumb luck. I'm on the Fields train. I need to see more. I need to see not one of these the guy can't pass because he can pass. I think the guy was so screwed up by the last regime. And I think he's so used to getting his butt kicked on every single play that unless you move the pocket and get him on the go, it doesn't work. Now, there's 2 things there. A, the receivers are about as good as my local high school. It's just the way it is. So if someone doesn't get open, it's not the quarterback's fault. You only have so many seconds, which leads you to the second problem. The offensive line was absolute horseshit. So you put those two things together, and the fact that the defense was letting anybody and their mother score after they traded everybody, you're going to have... Now, the fact that Fields did that much as an individual talent speaks high volumes of him. However, you don't want a quarterback running for his life every third play. When it happens, it's great. Josh Allen, it's fantastic. He picks up 15, 20 yards, pocket moves, he steps in, steps up, runs. It's a design play. He scrambles. I don't want him running every third play because he's going to tear every bone in his body, and we're back to square one. Now, I do have faith in this new GM. I say that because I'm a lifelong Bears fan, and I'm trained to have hope in every single new concept that comes in. However, the guy obviously made some wise decisions in trading and freeing up a ton of cap space. There was a lot of really garbage signings for a team that did not have a window open, who are just going to sit around and just collect cash. So I like the fact that he freed up so much money. I do not like the fact that every good receiver was signed last offseason. That's not good. So, look, it's to build a team, you've got to be good in the trenches. The Bears are going to have to spend in the trenches. Go get me Payne from the whoever the hell they're called now, the
Commanders. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go get me. Hold on, I just lost you guys. No. Go get me 2 linemen. Go get me an anchor, so his blind side is not being run by a rookie. I like their coaching was fantastic. I don't know what they did, but their running offense was fantastic. I mean, it was Fields, but that wasn't an issue. Now you've got the draft. The Bears will be foolish to take that first pick and use it. There's absolutely no reason to not stockpile, especially the fact that we traded for who I believe will be a good receiver, but a lot of people are a little iffy. It's going to take time. That kind of receiver, it's all timing. It's all patterns. It's not a slot receiver. The Bears need an alpha. They need an alpha receiver, which they can get. There's trades that can happen as part of the package. Look, having worked with them at receivers are divas. They can seamlessly change the course of their future like that. You have no idea who will open themselves up. So let's see what happens. Bears need an anchor in the middle on defense. They have for years when the Bears were good, they had the anchor. They had the McMichaels. They had the Tommy Harrises. You need the run stopper. You need that A type. The was it the A gap? You need that. They don't have that. You need a speed rush. They have no pressure on the quarterback. If they trade down and get one of the linemen, a Will Anderson or a different type, and the guy can get to the quarterback, we're in great shape. Yeah. I'm not afraid of running backs. Receivers will work themselves out. They'll trade for one, or who knows? Receivers find ways of getting the speed guys, the receivers. I like their secondary. I think it's a pretty decent secondary. I think they have some okay pieces in the defense. But for goodness sake, spend like you're like DuckTales. You're Scrooge damn McDuck jumping into the. There should not be a reason that the Bears are not bringing in 2 stud offensive linemen, either drafting a defense tackle or an end, or paying for the top on the market. You do a few of that. You trade down. You get better assets. Things can happen. Now, it might not be immediate, but you at least see a scheme, which I haven't really seen in terms of like the offense, because honestly, what scheme can you run? But I think the offense, at least the coach, has figured out how to utilize Fields without having him stand there for 4 to 5 seconds and just get crushed every single third down. I can't give you a prediction. I don't know how they'll be next year, but they're going to spend an absolute. They have to spend. Literally, there's a
minimum, right? Yeah,
floor they have to spend.
Yeah,
there's some decent defensive linemen, some fantastic offensive linemen, absolutely atrocious receivers. And I'm curious if they add, they go out and they go spend on like a Barkley, like go get a stud. Just go. It's not a very Bears thing to do. I'd be shocked the Bears would do something like that. But I think that there's a slimmer of a chance they can do something. But they're gonna have to draft well. And honestly, I was relatively impressed by last year's draft. Pretty decent. They found some free agents. They, local boy who goes to Wisconsin. Can he be a future stud middle line? Probably not. But can he be a healthy contributor as a free agent? That's a find. Right. Bears weren't really good at the finds, to be honest with you, unless it was like the 4th or 5th rounds. But look, trading down is going to be looked at. And if he trades out of the top 4, a little more concerned. Unless they get a player that's ready at those positions, be it a receiver or a defensive tackle. I don't want to trade down twice just to acquire picks, because then we're just kind of rebuilding. Where the window is the NFL's window is small and it's short.
Right.
These players are young, and this is the time to be good. They got the money, they got the stockpile and drafts, they got some like 3 or 4 actual core athletes. So again, of all the teams in Chicago, which hardens me because the Cubs probably have a pretty good chance of being the next good team based off the rebuild. Bears are probably the most coming to fruition team of all of them. So
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the NFL, you have an entire roster. Like, I think it has the most players, and I think somebody did a data scientist report on that about how I think it actually was the NHL first, and then the NFL was like the most can change in one off season, just because a couple player shifts here and there, like things can just change very quickly. So
it's schemes happen fast. It's a fast twitch sport as a talent sense and as an athlete. You have a very small window, and most of these legacies, they come and go. They're good and they're gone. There aren't really many consistent teams who stay great. And that's why you look at the NFL, and that's why it's the greatest sport there is, because you have a team and you're like, my team could suck the year before. Boom, all of a sudden they turn into the Giants and you're like, wow. Or the Jaguars. Or you put all your chips into a Russell Wilson and you think the world is perfect and everything is lined up, and you line the guy up with monster receivers and great players around him, and he absolutely sucks. So it's the one league where anything can happen, and usually the things you expect to happen don't happen, which is why it's your top sport. Among other reasons. Then
you got to trade your first round pick for Sean Payton, right, or whatever. So curious about now your thoughts on like this whole Arlington Heights, like moving where the Bears play to Arlington Heights, as a Bears fan and somebody that, has been involved in the business.
Well, the most interesting question is who the hell is going to pay for it? I still don't know who's going to pay for it, because the McCaskey family is not going to pay for it. That's not the way they roll. And the state's, I don't really think the state's going to be paying for it. So it's all fun and games. I'm sure something has been figured out behind the scenes, but that's the first question I ask. Now, Look, I get yelled at by my friends who live in the city. They hate the fact that the Bears are going to leave, most of them grew up in the suburbs. They think the suburbs, they think that I live in Northbrook, that I live in like Detroit. Like they think it's so far away. It's a 25-minute stroll down the highway and you're there. Maybe 30, 35 minutes. Look, in terms of Arlington Heights, do I like the fact that the Bears are going to leave the city? No. I mean, the Bears are, it's the city is the Bears. It goes hand in hand. That being said, what they can build in that location is incredibly intriguing, both as a civic pride, building up that area, just pure money capital they can get out of it. And just the things they can build. I mean, think of what they can add to the experience. An absolute Bears Hall of Fame. I mean, a glorious franchise, somewhat, but wonderful history, great legacy, a reason to get up there, to come up there, relatively close to O'Hare. There's a lot of traveling Bears fans who can jump on I believe they're going to be working on the Metra. They're going to have, trains running, which is a huge point of Soldier Field sucking through and through. Plenty of parking. There's fans in the suburbs. It's not like the suburbs are, it's not like it's the Field of Dreams and it's like one house every 600 miles. Like there's a lot going on out here. I mean, I live 15 minutes away. I'm intrigued. I mean, the amount of restaurants and lifestyle places and food, and it's gonna be awesome. I mean, now the important thing is they're gonna be able to do what Soldier Field will never do, which is be able to grow, not be a weird looking UFO in the middle of a major street. You're gonna have parking. You're going to have public transportation. You're going to have places to go before and after the game. They're going to build an entire area around it, which is going to be fantastic. Most likely, it's going to be absolutely overwhelmed by gambling, which I love. To the extent that I'm very curious if that will be the play. That will be, I'm not going to name names, but will there be a company who that area is called the blank whatever, fill the blank. Someone's got to pay for it, and corporations will go crazy over it. But the other thing that intrigues me is just having an arena that's not the smallest arena or field in the NFL. This is the third largest city. This is the classic type, team 1-2, us and the Packers. We are the NFL. To have the smallest stadium with this hungry of fans. Most of the fans who are Bears fans have had tickets for years and years and years. It's not, so season tickets aren't as easy as you think, so getting better access would be fantastic, but with the caveat that everybody who has a ticket needs to be able to keep their tickets. Absolutely 100%. But look at what we can get. You give me a Final Four. You give me concerts all year. You give me exhibitions. You give me bowl games. You give me a Super Bowl, probably one and one only. But Chicago is a sports city through and through. United Center is a class of in itself. It's a gorgeous stadium. Wrigley is it's a stadium. it's a landmark. It's a landmark. It's a wonderful addition to a city. There's that thing on the south side, which should be where the Bears play now. That's for a different time. This city deserves a state-of-the-art place to watch their beloved Bears. And unfortunately, it's going to have to be in the suburbs because there's really nowhere else to put it. And because of traffic being a pain and transportation, it's got to go somewhere where they can build absolutely around it and not somewhere where they can build in a neighborhood. It's just not, there's nothing available unless you got over way, way out yonder. But in terms of access to airports, to just a different amount of fans, you've got a lot of people Northwest, Northeast, out in Iowa, up in Wisconsin. You've got fans all over the place. The lack of love won't be the same. We've seen the precedent with other teams. I mean, 49ers fans don't mind. I mean, it's further away. They still schlep out there. I don't love it, but I think it's a necessity to bring more money and legacy into the franchise.
It makes sense. And I think like a lot of the LA Stadium and maybe Vegas too, I think they actually had the NFL like help fund it, like the association help fund it more so, right? So hopefully, it isn't the taxpayers like paying for this stuff and not seeing it for tens of years or decades, right?
I don't. That's the ultimate question. Maybe it's been answered, but I haven't seen it. Yeah. And most of these companies are self-funded. These are rich Jerry Jones of the world, and Virginia McCaskey is not forking over billions of dollars for a stadium in a million years. And whoever's going to take her, whatever family member takes her place is not going to do the same. There's no next generation. There's no Wirtz who's just waiting to completely shift the paradigm on what their dad did, for better or worse. It's not happening. McCaskies are the McCaskies. They've been that way for decades. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. Chicago ownership is the absolute worst of any city across the board. It's an absolute shit show. It's an embarrassment. We deserve better. There's young money in this city. There's billionaires all over the place. There's tons of new money. And we're stuck with these same just fledgling capital shitty owners. And I'm looking right at Jerry Reinsdorf through and through. And he is a turd. I mean, look, it's
you think you got lucky like with Jordan and then in 05 Reinsdorf?
I mean, there's no luck. I don't like the word luck in sports. I mean, I don't think anybody look. Akeem Olajuwon was the obvious choice. Sam Bowie was not the obvious choice, and they got Michael Jordan. It took Phil Jackson and a cast of interesting characters and really great players to create that machine, which took a long time. They've been absolute garbage since then. There's absolutely nothing on the West Side for either team right now that's doing anything great. But Bulls are absolute garbage. You move to my White Sox, it's the biggest atrocity in sports. Through and through, they've done more to ruin a good roster, a wonderful, not huge fan base, but very loyal fan base, completely slammed the door in their face, hired a drunk who had absolutely no reason to be coaching that team, completely laughed it up because he's Jerry's boy, and Jerry is unfortunately too damn loyal. And just continue to throw out about 3/4 of a team. It's the most mind-boggling. Keep roll. And I'm a season ticket holder. I love the White Sox. My dog was named Ozzy, for God's sakes.
Oh.
It's the most. Last year was the most aggravating year I've ever watched a sports team. Of all teams, 42 years old, and I've watched a lot of shitty teams in my life. But to watch this team continuously break down physically and mentally, and watch the owner fall asleep. I mean, they watch the manager fall asleep and just do these unbelievably stupid decisions. Like, let's go change it's 3-1 count. Let's go bring in a reliever. Like, unbelievably unknown. The White Sox fan base waited 5 good years for this to all come to fruition. No, it's not gone. It's not dead. Mm-hmm. Expectations have changed. We've seen these Cuban players. Some of them are divas. You don't want too many divas on a team. And they continuously field a team that's about 75% there. And I do not understand why this team cannot invest in two simple positions, a second baseman and a right fielder. I do not get it. I do not understand it. I do not understand why they keep picking these stupid free agents who have background stories, have injury issues. They're always called these, reclamation projects, or somebody will fix them. It's aggravating to literally have no farm team, none. And candidly, until they got rid of, a bunch of the scouts, they couldn't draft anything up until about 3 or 4 years ago. It was just terrible draft picks. So the White Sox have about 4 good players in the minor leagues. They have a gaping hole, unfortunately, now in the 5th starter role. They have a gaping hole as a closer, which they could not predict. That's, it's a terrible situation. And they have a lineup of about 6 people. And they're going to take a lot of chances on unknowns. And if you're competing and you tell your fan base that you're competing and you raise your parking prices and you raise your ticket prices and you field a relatively big payroll, which is the craziest thing, and then you do not spend on the final pieces to get to that when the division is there for the taking. It's not a good division. It's infuriating. And the fact that the team can't even host their own winter convention is an absolute joke. An absolute joke. That is not health reasons. It's not COVID related.
You don't have any other insights on that, Dan? I mean, from your take in the sports world in Chicago, like that's kind of a head scratcher.
I don't have a take. I don't have a take. It's if you look, the news came out today. I don't know where it came from, but there was like a poll came out, and the feedback of fans was absolutely terrible. I mean, let's be honest. They're absolutely afraid of getting in front of the fan base because of what I've been ranting about. To go from business Dan to weekend Dan. It's aggravating because you're only good for so long, and we're not blessed with a team that spends reckless money and can be good every single year. Mm-hmm. And so they got just awesome talent. And I don't know if it's the talent. It's just always injured. And we're not quite sure if they're actually good because they're never playing. They look good for like 3 or 4 games and they disappear. That team can either absolutely be the most heartwarming story of the summer or will absolutely combust and will break your hearts like you do never want to come back. Now, thankfully, it's not La Russa, and I do think the manager is well liked by the team, and he will be able to get some effort. Effort only does so much. Talent is through and through, and baseball is really about the team coming together. So I don't think they really wanted to play as hard for La Russa. I'm hopeful that the new coach, he'll get that out of them. Talk to me again in 90 days. We'll know a lot more. So,
gotcha. Yeah, no, for sure. I think we've spoken about it. We do have a segment on, I think, second baseman that we want. So we have done actually. It's which second baseman would you ideally want right now for the White Sox?
Honestly, I don't even know. It's I mean, if I could,
yeah, all the money in the world, all the resources,
I don't know. I don't like playing. I don't like that game. It just teases me. On this team, I wish that Jake Berger learned how to play second, got really good at playing second base. Would love to get that guy in the lineup every single day. That's my answer. He's a big boy. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Or I know the Sox have and I haven't been paying attention to names, but I know like their next big player is a shortstop. So can we get TA and move over to second base and plug this kid in?
Colson Montgomery. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on Berger too. I mean, if they possibly push Moncada to second base and put him in his natural position, I mean, there's a thought there. It's just he is a very good third baseman too. So it's getting a little bit tricky to play those kind of musical chairs, I guess.
And they're not staying healthy. And that's the thing is there were periods of last year where a bunch of them were having pretty decent periods in a few games, and then like they all got hurt. I mean, I'd never seen a team self-combust like that. I mean, literally every time you turn around, someone else was pulling a hamstring. So I don't have an answer. I don't know who. Like, bring me back Ray Durham. How's that for an answer?
Yeah, go to the time machine. Yeah, pick them up and everything.
Give me Ray. Give me Ray. Yes. So, or give me like Iguchi in the first half of 2005. Just like, who the hell is this guy? You know, give me him. Give me a slap hitter like that. Just, I don't have an answer for like the dream. Probably because I'm trying to evade watching good second basemen and trying to block that out of my memory. So,
gotcha. All right. Well, I think we can do probably some final thoughts here. Maybe I would just kick it off to you, Dan. Curious, like, do you have any final shots final thoughts? You could take shots if you want. Final thoughts of, either advice you want to give to people, or, we'd also love to hear about anything. I know you're a big foodie too. I think from what I've seen, do you have anything that you want to share?
I'm really not a foodie. That's the thing. I want to be a foodie. I'm a good pseudo foodie, but
are you a fatty then? I think there's like are you a fatty or foodie or?
I think I'm like the kind of person who's dumb enough to show up to the supermarket hungry and just like buys everything and just like it just sits there. Like that's the Oreo Oreo. That thing I did conquer the Oreo Oreo. That thing, cookies and cream, that is highly recommended.
Wait a minute, what is this? I've never heard of the Oreo Oreo.
There's an Oreo Oreo. It's like the most Oreo Oreo, and it's cookies and cream, and it's like big. It's a double stuff. Ooh,
right, I'm checking this thing out. All right, I gotta take a look real quick.
I think it's like the most Oreo Oreo or the Oreo Oreo. It's got some metaverse experience.
Oreo. Yeah, if it's an Oreo Oreo, how could it be more Oreo than an Oreo?
I don't know, but to me, it's a really good Oreo, and there's a whole like QR code metaverse experience. There you go.
Wow.
Man, the most Oreo Oreo.
Yeah, I think it's exclusively. My wife got it at Target, so I looked and I was like, "What is this fancy packaging?" And I just went to town.
It's kind of got like a Target, a white and brown Target logo behind the Monster Oreo on the package. So that'd be some really sneaky branding.
For someone who's not a fatty or not a foodie, it's a good tagline. I would go with hell yeah. Destroy. Just encourage you. I mean, it's tough because the North Shore, the food sucks. So I'm not exactly surrounded by. So in terms of like slim pickings for like the Super Bowl, like you're gonna get deep dish. I mean, let's go. Gonna get deep dish.
Got it.
But I would stock up on the Oreo Oreo. Absolutely. Now I don't know what you're drinking. Doesn't matter. If you're winning your bets, doesn't matter what you're consuming because it all tastes wonderful. That's what I say.
Yeah. No, that sounds amazing. I think I'll have to check it out and everything. I'm actually going to be going to New Orleans like Super Bowl weekend, so I feel like once I return after that, because that's going to be diabetes in and of itself. I'm gonna have to come back and get some Oreo Oreos. I feel like so. I'm like trying to eat salads and stuff. So right now
doesn't matter. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
yeah. I haven't. But like right now, like I'm trying to like slim down or like
No, it's not hot. It's absolutely. And I've only been a few times.
Yeah.
But they put ridiculous amounts of everything, additives, sugar, just cause. And you can't escape a meal without going like, God damn, that's a lot of food. And it's like all the like, it's like the coloring and the, like the MSG and the additives, and you're just like, my stomach you're gonna get fat for like at least a weekend. You'll get there. But
what would you recommend?
I'm looking right now because I haven't been in a few years. My brother-in-law is from New Orleans, and there's an absolute wonderful. There's a place right now, and I can't remember the name, that has charbroiled oysters. And I'm trying to look right now, and it's like my favorite meal. Like if it's still open, I will get you a name, but in charbroiled oysters, I mean, the po' boys, but not the po' boys, like go to like the neighborhoods, like go around to the area and like get away from the French Quarter and go eat some just awesome po' boys. The food is fantastic. The drinks will knock you on your ass.
Okay.
It's just they sugar coat them, and I mean, I've gone for bachelor parties, so from what I remember, I can't remember the name. It's driving me. I've probably recommended it to like, and now they may have closed. I mean, it's been like 5 years since I've been there. Sure. But if you can find charbroiled oysters, that's really good.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yeah, I think. I'm very much looking forward to. I mean, did you try Cafe Du Monde? Like
that? I did. Yeah.
Is it okay or what? Or
it's fine. It's just you wait in line for sugar.
Okay.
I mean, it's no different than any like. I mean, go walk around the West Loop. It's the same thing. You'll stand in line for 3 blocks for a donut or for a.
Yeah. They're doing cookies now. Yeah, gourmet cookies now. So.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. There's a Levain's now.
I would. That's my favorite cook. I haven't been to the one in Chicago, but the one in New York.
Yeah.
Every time I would absolutely. Yes, I would. That was definitely a go get because I've had I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if it's the whole like New York water makes it better type thing.
Right.
I haven't talked about the Chicago cookie. I can't imagine it's worse. I'm sure it's just as good. That cookie that's a. So.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cool.
Besides that, buckle your seatbelt, hang in tight. It's just been 2023 has been it's February 7th, and I feel like it's December. Like it just feels like it just feels like in all things in my life, but all things just looking, it just feels like it's been like 6 months in 6 weeks. And I mean, truly to go revert back to the original, the beginning of this conversation, just truly tap into and play into who you trust, and just truly build up that network. And just, you're absolutely foolish right now if you are job seeking, if you're not job seeking, if you're new in the industry, if you're not new in the industry, if you're a veteran, everybody should be networking in some way, shape, or form. It's the only way to truly understand what's going on out there, and to get various POV, invest in QR codes, keep buying the I've done more, like my business, I've done more sweepstakes in the last 9 months than I've ever done of anything in my entire life. Keep doing sweepstakes and calling me. But look, I mean, we're Chicago sports fans will probably have a very long 2023. There's really nothing that I can see that gets me to jump up and down in the morning and say, this is going to be really awesome. Ain't nothing out there. I'm more excited about Kansas football than I am about the Chicago Bears, and that should never happen in a million years. There is nothing for us to get excited about. Chicago fans have been spoiled. We've won a lot of championships. Might be your team, it might not be your team. I'm 42 years old, and I've seen every single team in my life win a championship. It's pretty damn cool. So enjoy those memories, embrace those memories. And frankly, I always say now, look, Kansas won the championship last year. I've seen 3 in my life now. It was just awesome. It was just, I watched it with my kids. They had no idea what was going on. Still, I enjoyed it. Dressed up in little cheerleader costumes. I have 2 little girls. Any win, just enjoy, embrace. To me, anybody who wants to work in sports or enjoy sports has to understand that there's a whole world behind it. It's just a business. It's just a business. And don't let it ruin your life, because it's just a game, truly. Which sucks, because I hate saying that. But
yeah, no. Yeah, but yeah, to your point, like we're talking about athletes, like they're just people too. So yeah.
Look, there's money around the sports world. There's monetization through gambling, through fantasy, through this, through that. They're just people, and people can be incredibly cruel to them, and just flat out mean and cruel and mean. I mean, again, they're just people. I mean, they're no different. They're not demigods. They're the same age as us. They wipe their ass the same way we do. Put on the clothes the same way we do. They just get paid a lot more money to entertain. So, but it's the absolute world's greatest reality show. And it's the absolute world's greatest lifestyle, which is in being around sports. It's fantastic. It's a very small club that loves each other and understands that they're damn lucky that they're in that space. So
got it. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I guess my final thing, I'll let Pat take the final. I think he's got an Applebee's thing he wants to get off his chest. So I'm definitely up for that. But I guess my take, it is, I know we're shooting this on February 7th, but I think for the Super Bowl, I think I'm kind of reflecting on some past Super Bowl performances. I think, for me, it was, listening or seeing, was it Coldplay, and then also Beyonce, and then Bruno Mars perform. I think that was my favorite one. I guess I'm maybe open up to everybody. What was maybe one of your favorite Super Bowl halftime performances? We can start with you, Dan.
I want to say, and I will come back, and I've watched the Prince performance time and time again. I don't really remember it, but it was truly awesome, and I don't want to remember it because of the game. But Prince was fantastic. Michael Jackson was fantastic. Beyonce was fantastic. Last year was the awesome I'm old moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm intrigued by how isn't MTV off? It's now produced by somebody else. So I'm intrigued by how they do it differently this year. To me, the Super Bowl really has completely changed with gambling. I mean, honestly, I could care less about commercials. I've been ranting for the last week. I can't stand seeing the stupid ass commercials before the game. I want to be surprised. Gambling has completely changed. For me, I could care less I honestly care more about the gambling than the game because, frankly, I don't have any skin in the game. My team's not going to be there anytime soon. I don't want to win a lot of money. I want to feel smarter than my friends by gambling correctly. It's completely changed the game. It's literally and figuratively. And I do want to add one more fat tip in terms of like where you should go. If you are around Chicago and you are not consuming Buff Joe's and getting a chance at getting Buff Joe's for the Super Bowl, and you're not ordering by tomorrow, probably you're doing it wrong. Because
shout out Buff Joe's. Just gonna put it out there. Yeah, Buff Joe's. Man.
Get Buff Joe's. Let's get them out as a sponsor. So
for sure. Maybe that guy who the older guy runs the back.
I don't have the greatest performance. I don't know. Super Bowl is
Gotcha. Pat, what about you?
Last year's was really cool. Just as being a 41-year-old 90s rap fan going like, I know that there's a bunch of 20-year-olds just going screaming their heads off, going, what is this garbage? To me, that was fun. So
yeah. Pat, what about you?
Man, I'd have to give a shout out to the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson performance. I mean, I thought that was incredible. Just the wardrobe, just in general, just thought they did a great job coordinating everything. Just everything hit the right spots at the right time. In all seriousness, I don't know if I really like get into the halftime performances as much. I mean, I think in recent years, I thought Katy Perry's just the aesthetics around her show was really cool. Like having her come out in a giant like lion robot for the most part. I thought they did a really great job at like costumes, lights. I think they do a great job at like setting up that whole performance. I will echo what Dan said though about the rappers last year. I thought that was pretty cool to like have all the guys come out that we, bought the albums for, and maybe when our kids get older, we can show them what CDs are and, try to see if they can figure out what they're intended to do and stuff like that. But, just like all those folks, we had their albums growing up. We, emulated them a lot in, our sports and everything else.
So the question, and I'll turn the tables on you guys, 'cause I'm sick of being asked questions, is if there was a performer or a band who has not performed in the halftime Super Bowl, and that would be your ideal performance, be it one or a series of artists, who would be your dream halftime show?
Oh man, that's a good question. That is a great question. Oh man. I might have to go with, well, they're dead. I would actually go with Avicii. I think he would be great halftime show. I know it's like the whole DJ thing and who the heck are these people type of thing, and these young kids stealing everything and being on TikTok and all that. But yeah, the late Avicii, he would have been like, for me, a great halftime show. I think, with the music and everything, and just kind of having that upbeat attitude. But I know that they try to pair it, but that was the whole Coldplay, Beyonce, and Bruno Mars thing, is that they usually try to pair like a more like a rock star figure with like an R&B or hip hop. So if I were to pair, maybe this is where it gets interesting, Avicii with anybody that hasn't done it yet. Maybe I go with Ray Durham. I mean, hey, it's like pop him up and then see, hey, maybe you can play second base too. Like, Ray might as well sign him up. Let's see. I don't think Nas has done it, right? So yeah, maybe like Nas, and then like again, fictional world. Yeah, like somebody like Avicii. I think that'd be kind of crazy. So something like that.
Yeah, so I think once Virginia McCaskey, ends up selling the Bears, or all decision making to get the Bears out to Arlington Heights, they host the Super Bowl there. I'd just love to see like Common, Lupe Fiasco, maybe have a feature of like Twista come in and just like take over Chicago. Maybe you bring in like John Belushi and some other guys like dress up as the Blues Brothers. Maybe get some other blues folks out on the field that day, but just make it like a pure Chicago representation for the Super Bowl. So if they ever did anything like that, sign me up. I'll watch the full 30 minutes of that for sure.
Okay.
Sweet.
How about you, Dan?
I have a 2-part show, and this is just I've got the first 10 minutes, got Billy Joel and Elton John. The back half, give me Pearl Jam.
Mm.
There you go.
That's
I
a
don't
good
know how
one.
the hell they're gonna. I don't know how you flow one from the other. I don't see Billy Joel doing even flow, but
You got a good bridge guy from Seattle that can just like sneak their way in the middle there, I guess.
yeah, you can go get me Dave Grohl.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl can do a little Piano Man duet, and then transition.
Wow. This is like a production meeting coming on right here now, I feel like. So.
Yeah, do it out in Quest Field. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Pat, what's your take? What do you got to share?
So I have absolutely no food today. Dan, we usually have final thoughts and we touch on, food related news or, restaurants we've tried, things that we don't like in the food space and stuff like that. But actually, I was working out the other day. I'm in the, somewhat of a boot camp, but they put on, music for all of us to train to and stuff. And I'm not kidding. The Fox Sports football theme came on for about a minute and was just playing straight, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was just trying not to laugh the entire time because I've just never heard that outside of a football Sunday. So it just got me to thinking while I was like trying not to laugh, trying not to break from my, my exercise or whatever. But, wanted to ask you guys, what are your favorite theme songs of all time? I mean, this could be sports, this could be media, anything you really touch on. But, why don't we start with Wayne and see what he's got for maybe a favorite theme song?
A great question. Man, I think in terms of like things that I just find memorable, like a nice jingle or something that just kind of sticks to my brain. I gotta go with like 773-202 Luna. I feel like the fact that I just remember
you can put have Avicii do all the classic Chicago. Have him doing Eagle Man, have him doing Empire, have him doing Luna, have him doing Cars for Kids. There you go. So
that'd be nuts. Yeah. All accessible by QR code. I think we just solved like all the world's issues here now. yeah. But buy it on iTunes or whatever. Or have the QR code. You can buy it. All proceeds go to funding the second baseman of the White Sox. So. Oh, yeah, that sounds awesome. But 773-202 Luna. I feel like that's a staple, so.
I could listen to One Shining Moment. And you have to understand, I'm a Kansas guy who for years has lost in the first rounds or upset by another mid-level B school, be it Bucknell or Bradley, who did not want to listen to One Shining Moment. But it hits different when you win, and it hits different when you hear it after you win throughout the entire season. But the CBS college basketball theme song gets me so ready to run through a damn wall. It is unheard of. That's the ultimate theme. The one question I have, and now that it's too off topic, why does Fox play the injury tune when someone's injured? They have like a musical ensemble that they go off to. I will never understand why they need a musical ensemble to go off to commercial. I still don't understand that one.
Yeah, it goes like what da-da-da, or something like that. Like
it's very sad. Like it's just
it's on that note, Wayne, but then it's just like kind of somber. It's kind of like drawn out like that, for sure.
I've never liked that.
Yeah. It's like a episode of CSI or something. Like I don't. Yeah, I get it.
I do in terms of like TV. I will jam out to Succession's theme song. That song will get me going. That's on. That is on the mix. That's a good 1 minute 20-second. Boom! It's over. I will enjoy. There's just so you know, the NFL theme song. I'm a Pelotoner. on Sundays they have a NFL theme ride during the season, and they kick off the first minute of that every Sunday with that song. They used to, I don't know if they still do, but it comes on, which it's a little strange. It is strange to work out to those themes. Besides that, you know what truly is the greatest in stadium, which started by the White Sox, is na 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 hey hey goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You watch any single college football game that doesn't just like a random game, that's always sung by the fan section. And that was Nancy Faust. Definitely started that.
What a day.
It's interesting. I was talking with a client of mine, actually, a client, somewhere in my job, about Nancy. Apparently he knows her personally. And this is all within today, actually. So it's kind of full circle that it's all happening right now. He asked me where I'm from. I said I was in Chicago. He's like, "Oh, are you a White Sox fan or a Cubs fan?" I said, "White Sox fan." And then he's like, "Oh, my neighbor is Nancy Faust." And he makes like YouTube videos. I can share his information and stuff like that. But his intro to his YouTube videos is Nancy, actually, making like, I know, like, that's pretty badass, right?
There's no way you thought you'd hear Nancy Faust's name twice.
No, this is crazy.
There's no bingo card that has that happen.
I feel like I should take a shot or something, but I'm not in New Orleans yet, so yeah. That's
You're gonna have to sing na 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 hey hey goodbye while you're taking a shot and upload that for an homage to the White Sox having a wonderful marketing department for years and years and years and years, which has always been wonderful, but not having the talent to go along with it at times.
Yeah. If only it just matched that, but not for sure. So
cool. I haven't eaten today, so I have nothing to tell you. Did I eat? I had a protein shake, and I had to do a bunch of pitches in the city. So I was stuck in traffic all day. Sucks.
Oh man,
being the burbs is not fun. It's not the same. I had nothing. If you live in the North Shore, there's a place I used to love, Michael's in Highland Park. Wonderful. Used to. It's new ownership, not as good. There's a place in Northbrook called Grill House. Really good, like hot dog, hamburgers. It's fantastic. It's in Northbrook on Dundee. Incredibly biased because I eat it almost every single third day. It hits. And there's not a lot of good food out here. It's just there's not. We're limited. We're limited.
There's no Applebee's you can go to, or
TGI Fridays,
Hooters.
Yeah. Well, isn't it just Hoots now, or who?
Hoots, yeah. The fast casual thing, right? Yeah, I think it's
they're going Hoots now.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys are kidding me.
There's like I think it's the fast casual version, I believe. I think there's still Hooters, right?
Wait, please,
no. To say this as PC, as friendly as I can, apparently Hooters are just not as popular as they used to be.
Oh, we've heard. We've definitely heard that. I'm just okay. I'm just kind of wondering,
double.
Does Hoots? Do they wear like turtlenecks and sweatpants now, or what's going on? All right.
I don't know. But that's it's all. There is no. It's just there's nothing out here. I mean, there's stuff, but it's not the same.
You got to go to Arlington Heights. You don't move.
Arlington Heights for years will be good, but it'll just be it'll be Capitol Grill and Cheesecake Factory, and it won't be original. There'll be like a Geno's, and there'll be probably an Applebee's. There'll be a bunch of like commercialized places who have locations. You'll probably get like a Whataburger or something magical like that there. But it's not going to be the traditional 100-year-old family Italian restaurant that's been, on the little corner that's been built around that you have in Chicago. No, it's going to be, But it'll be good food. You'll get fed. You'll get drunk and fat and happy. And That's all that really matters, right?
The end of the day. Wayne, did you have anything else for today's episode?
I think that was it for me. But I guess thank you, Dan, for showing up, providing a good sense of humor as well as some musical references during your time and ages. So very much appreciate you having you on, talk about sports, talk about the sports business, Nancy Faust, White Sox, Bears, et cetera, et cetera. So very much appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's fun. Let's do it again. Thank you, boys.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And with that's the Ball and Breakfast podcast. Subscribe, like, comment. You can follow us anywhere. Instagram. We are also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So find us wherever we are, and we'll be back next time. Thanks a lot.